Hey, what is up YouTube? This is the Merman Master coming at you guys from the Team Time Riders Yugioh channel today with another brand new video. And in today's video, I'm going to be discussing the brand new Master Rule 5, which we just got. One of the coolest additions to this game. For a while, guys, I'd actually been saying that the link format has really been one of the most stale things for me. And the reason for that is not necessarily about links. Well, yeah, it is about links, but more so the fact that they decided to restrict the previous summoning mechanics so that they could only be special summoned by link monsters. I've always believed that you shouldn't be forced to use a new summoning mechanic, but that there should be things out there to encourage that. And Konami often did that with the previous summoning mechanics by encouraging you to use XYZ, Synchro, and whatever by designing archetypes and cards that worked the best or worked really well with those specific types of summoning mechanics. With the recent legacy supports and all the new stuff that came out around Pendulum era, where Konami really took the time to go back and make more fusions and synchros and XYZs and really give a ton of legacy support to all of these old archetypes. That's been the single thing that's really kept me in this game. But when Links came out and Konami was just like, okay, well, you can't summon all your stuff in the main monster zone anymore. You have to play it in the extra monster zone, and you can only summon one at a time. A whole bunch of decks that I had that you know did a lot of spamming, like X-Sabers and Black Wings, and even my Yang Zing deck couldn't play in the game anymore because they were all about putting synchros and stuff out. So you had to summon a link monster that had 2 link materials to go into a zone. And what happened is that, you couldn't run like a rank 4 deck anymore, because the idea was you use this rank 4 deck to go into an XYZ, and that XYZ is sort of, the powerful card on your field. But if you then, in order to summon multiple XYZs, have to commit 2 extra monsters to summon a link monster before you can summon your 2 XYZs, you're wasting extra resources. And decks that can't waste those resources would oftentimes not really be that good. Like if you in Hieratics, for instance, you waste a resource on a link monster with 2 arrows in order to make a Tzolk'in play. And that really just was not worth it. And, the same thing with Yang Zing. So I think those decks dropped off a lot. But thanks to this new Master Rule, I really, really enjoy the fact that they brought back the old summoning mechanics, guys. And that is something that I think should have happened from the beginning. The way that the Master Rule works is very similar to how I'd imagine a change of the Master Rule should go. At first, guys, I imagine, if they're going to change the Master Rule for the modern era, at least let us summon monsters in the main monster zone. Don't let us force us to special summon those extra deck monsters in the extra monster zone, because they're not even as broken as the links. But I was saying, save that extra monster zone for link monsters, and just for link monsters. So if you want to bring us into the next era, people are encouraged to play link monsters, but they're not forced to play link monsters. And that's, I think, a really, really important distinction to make. Is nobody really wants to be told how they must play the game. And by encouraging and maybe gently prodding someone to use link monsters versus using XYZs or synchros or fusion, creating an archetype that can spit out more monsters is better. But if you can't do that, I'll at least allow people to play their own archetypes as is, and if they want to get access to that extra monster zone, use the links. Well, Konami actually did me one quite better than that, by basically making it so that not only you could summon an extra deck monster in the extra monster zone, but also in your main monster zones as well. So now there's 6 spaces for extra deck monsters, no ability to U-Link, and you also get all 5 of the main monster zones to summon monsters. So things like Tzolk'in and other old cards and massive spam decks are all of a sudden back in the game, and even more legacy stuff is possible thanks to that. That makes me really, really excited, because Konami really listened to people. And I also, this may rub some people the wrong way, but I'm also a fan of the fact that Konami decided to keep pendulums restricted as much as they did by only allowing you to pendulum summon from the extra deck into an extra monster zone. Basically releasing pendulums to their former form and just making them insanely powerful, just like normally, is, I think, one of their biggest mistakes. Like, they always assumed that it was a huge mistake and did not really want to make pendulums. And they, pendulums, they were just really ready to be gone with it. And once that happened, they made it so that, pendulums are still kind of broken and they're never going to return to their former glory, but, they were already more powerful than synchros and XYZs and fusions. And this gives fusion, synchros, and XYZs a fair playing field with links. I can run my X-Saber deck or my Scrap deck and be able to summon like multiple of my monsters and not really have to worry about it, which I think is incredibly cool. But it just is a crazy thing that Konami can, with one small change, really, I think, revitalize a lot of the people who were disillusioned and disenfranchised with the way that Lynx took the game. And now, you can still have a deck that has Lynx, decks that spam like crazy and can spit Link monsters out like you would not believe. You can still play those decks, but at the same time, people who loved playing the really old decks, like, especially, GX era decks or whatever, that don't really have a massive committing of resources to your board, they can now still play those decks and still be able to have an excellent time playing those decks. But I think that there's a particular reason that Konami made this change to Master Rule 5, and it doesn't have anything to really do with wanting to appease legacy players, more so that it has to do with where Konami is with its legacy support at this time. Now, as you guys might know, Konami sort of is going through all of the different generations of legacy support, trying to see what sticks. So first, the legacy support started with all of that original set legacy support with all the Yugi and Kaiba tins, and it almost got to be kind of like overkill with all of the original series stuff that they were making and boosting up those decks. But then Konami moved to GX. And once Konami moved to GX, it ended up being a really great thing that they did, because they understand that they have a lot of fans currently playing who, for them, GX was really the show. And they made a ton of new hero support and some Sacred Beast support and all the different archetypes that people love to play in GX. Specifically Cyber Dragons, I think, was one that a lot of people hugely enjoyed. And they threw bones to a lot of different things. Even a BES, for instance. I think BES was one of the first archetypes that got legacy support. I personally love that piece of support that it got. But you take a look at what was released for all of these decks, and you understand that Konami really went along the entire process of getting it all done. And at the end of the day, they sort of finish it off. But now they're moving into 5Ds. And I noticed that they're starting to release some stuff for some 5Ds and Synchro archetypes, and Needle Fiber / Haliquiferbrack is making its first appearance in the TCG. And guys, with that said, Synchro decks are very focused on spamming. And I think Konami understands that there's a lot of people who, for them, Synchro was the era. And with this new Master Rule, guys, they're going to be allowed to create all these crazy spammy synchros and stuff like that. Certain cards they had to design so that they'd like attach themselves as XYZ materials. Like, you take example, Elemental Hero Grand Merge tributes itself to special summon a monster from the extra deck because there was only one extra monster zone at the time. But now, any synchro monster designed from this point out can put the focus on synchro spamming exactly how players used to love it. And that is really, one of the most wonderful things that I think the brand new Master Rule has brought to the table. And I really look forward to seeing what kind of new combos players come up with as they experiment. So guys, that's my thoughts on Master Rule 5. And I personally really love it. And it, I was kind of waxing on whether or not to stay in the game or not, but this is, got me firmly here for a little while longer. And I'd love to see what Konami is able to do and what all these decks are able to do now that Master Rules 5 is here. So guys, I'm curious to know what you guys think. Please let me know in the comments section below. And this has been the Mermail Master with the Team Time Riders Yu-Gi-Oh! Channel. And until next time, I'm signing out. Catch you guys later. Peace.